agarrarà ell i ja està, només que ho sapiguem. O
Molt
sigui
bé.
que no hi ha cap fallo ni cosa tècnica així especial que hagi de tenir en compte, perquè no...
Vale, perfecte. Una cosa, Jordi, perquè ell reaccioni, diguéssim, en comptes de dir-li estigues un minut així com mirant a la pantalla o mirant a càmera, per tenir les seves reaccions que siguin reals, d'acord? Jo m'he preparat la introducció, d'acord?
Perfecte, sí.
Aleshores li diré, vale, tot això ho gravarem bé i tal, però més o menys diré això, vale? Welcome to tal, no sé què, today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Adam Elliot, no sé què, Oscar winner, patatim, patatam, pim, pam. He has a unique way to portray the outsiders, the underdog, I aleshores, doncs, bueno, també diré que, clar, perquè no tenim cap vídeo, si volem posar la inauguració, cloenda, quan sigui, no tenim cap vídeo dient it is a great pleasure to give this Animation Master Award for this achievement as a filmmaker, tal. Entonces, que él reciba the award. Empezamos la entrevista con eso, ¿vale?
Vale, muy bien.
O sea, yo le diré que empiece la entrevista diciendo it's a pleasure to receive this award, no sé qué, no sé cuántos, porque para mí, patatín, patatán, España, Cataluña, lo que quiera él decir, ¿vale? Aleshores, comencem així y si no, pues yo ya le trigger, le digo, bueno, pues how do you feel about this award? ¿Vale? Y entonces, pues él que diga, para mí és no sé què, no sé quantos, tal. I amb això ho tallarem i ho posarem a la inauguració, cloenda on convingui, ¿vale? O fer una captura per xarxes.
Vale.
Aleshores, sí.
Dic que quan comenci, abans que es connecti ell, jo em trauré d'aquí, però quedaré al xat. Veus que a la dreta tens una icona que fiqui Private Chat?
Private Chat, sí.
Doncs aquí ens podem comunicar encara que no em vegis. Jo puc escriure i si vols dir alguna cosa, doncs aquí estaré. Això també ho llegeix ell, també,
Vale, perfecte. Vale, molt bé.
Ho llegim tots.
Vale, perfecte.
Però si ell té la pantalla completa, igual no el veu, el xat, no? Jordi?
Sí, si ell se fica... O sigui, jo el fico a pantalla completa com ara estigui així.
Em refereixo que ell...
Així l'està veient. El que passa que si després ell ho té a pantalla completa del seu ordinador...
Això em referia, no es veu. Vale, perquè segurament ho ficarà així, suposo.
Estoy un poco fatal de luz, perquè no tinc una llum, diguéssim, currada. Saps? A veure si... Aquí tinc uns finestrals. A veure si comença a entrar una miqueta de llum natural, perquè si no, bueno, ara un...
Ens està escoltant la Geni, també. Hola, Geni.
Hola, Geni.
M'encanta que vagis avisant, Jordi.
Com ho veus? La llum d'aquest flexol, lo apago? No, queda molt fosc.
Sí, millor encesa, sí.
Lo que pasa que, bueno, voy a hacer un apaño de la abuela, así.
A ver,
con una bolsa de plástico. Pero bueno, no es cremará porque es LED. Bueno, así tamiza un poquito la luz. Ay, me tenía que haber puesto un poco de polvos para los brillos. ¿Cómo vamos de hora? Subo en un momento.
Hola, Geni, què tal? Com estàs?
Admet-te-la.
Bé, tots. Què tal? Molt xulo el fons.
Hola. Ja, molt amunt.
Que molt guai.
Molt bé. T'has aixecat aviat avui?
Sí, bueno, jo sempre, a les 8 ja estic a tope. Ara tenim una reunió a les 9, però he dit, bueno, mira, em connecto i així veig com va. A més, no havia vist mai lo de l'StreamYard. No tenia curiositat.
Bueno, jo t'expulso,
Molt bé.
Vinga, fins ara.
Sí, después de la pantalla ahí, bueno, da igual.
Jordi, una altra cosa important. M'ha deixat l'Andrés aquest micro que ell fa servir per les classes.
Sí?
Que està molt bé, de qualitat.
Molt bé.
Vols que ho provi?
Sí.
A ver, es una pinza. Vale, le tengo que poner esto y conectarlo al ordenador. A ver, así. Porque, claro, si me pongo los cascos, luego en Lleida no llevaré cascos. Y mis cascos se notan mucho porque son así. Y los del iPhone no sé ahora dónde los tengo. Bueno. A ver, espera. Ah, me va la luz. Vale. Què tal em sent? Aquest micro anul·la el del... Em sents millor o no? Amb aquest.
Tendría que ir aquí.
No sé si t'escolten.
Ella.
A veure, prova a mi sense. Jo crec que et sento igual.
En su ordenador.
Carolina, yo creo que la has de escribir.
No te había dicho nada, perdona, que estabas ahí que no te veía solo de refilón.
Estoy aquí de ayudante de realización.
Bien, así me gusta, todo se empiña.
Carolina, crec que has d'escollir el micro, eh? Veus que tens a baix de tot una icona que fica Cam Mic?
Sí, Cam... Oh, fuck.
Doncs la selecciones...
Durante la... Vale, perdona. A ver, espera. Un moment, que m'estava tapant una mica la càmera. Vale, Cam Mic. Opa, un altre cop. Vale, àudio.
Àudio i tens... La primera opció és un menú...
Integrado, speaker predeterminado, salida integrada. ¿Cuál hago? Uy, voy a coger...
No, a speaker no, a mic. Quines opcions tens?
Predeterminado, micrófono integrado, Samsung Go Mic.
Aquest últim, no, d'usted?
Sí, ¿cómo me oís con este? ¿Mejor, peor? ¿Vale la pena o no?
Ah, mejor, no? Bueno, jo millor.
Sí, jo crec que sí, bastant millor.
Vale, perfecte. El que passa, ho he posat més direccionat. Voy a coger agua. Un momentico.
Sí, que antes me preguntabas lo de la mosca, la mosca no la ponemos ahora, ya la tendremos luego.
A ver, sí.
Sí, en directos la podemos poner, pero aquí no se salta. Ya estamos en YouTube, ¿eh? Y grabando. Y en el móvil lo tengo allí en el comedor. Y lo escuchaba bien. Lo testearé de vez en cuando. Si has de chatear, acuérdate que lo he hecho varias veces. Póntelo al lado y ponte el central este. Vale. Póntelo como secundario este. Y así no te confundirás.
Alguna cosa... A ver, yo... Lo que diga el realizador. Si aquí... O sigui... Imagínate que al final tenemos una emergencia y tenemos que usar esta imagen. O sea... Por lo que pueda pasar, intentemos que quede lo mejor posible y ya está. ¿Vale?
Però sempre serà, en principi, amb tu en miniatura.
Sí, clar, sí. Sí, que ell te vegi. No. Que l'Adam la vegi o que no? La veurà l'Adam tot el rato, Jordi.
Mira, el plano seria que tu...
O sigui, jo soc l'Adam, no?
L'Adam Elliot, vale, d'acord. Vale. Pues no sé. Vale, sí, en principi sí, tenir l'Adam. Però bueno, si vols realitzar o que en algun moment pensant en que... O sigui, això és un material que en principi no farem servir, però si imagina't que al final ho fem servir i pots desenfocar-me al fons, saps? Ho dic por lo que pueda pasar, yo qué sé, ¿sabes? Que nos da un jamacuco a todos, cualquier cosa, ¿sabes? O sigui, fem-ho... Com ho veus, Jordi, Miguel? Com ho veieu, això?
Que han desaparegut.
S'ho estaran pensant. Bueno, ha quedat molt xulo, aquest fondillo i així.
Ja, és molt guai.
És més mona que en un Zoom, molt més.
Sí,
estava fora, però...
Vale, dic que, Jordi, por lo que pueda pasar, que nos dé un jamacuco a ti, a mi, a cualquiera, a l'Adam, lo que sea, fem una cosa, fem que això en un moment donat es pogués fer servir si és que pots desenfocar-me al fons, més o menys, sí?
Sí. Si hem d'utilitzar uns quants segons de transició, agafarem aquell plano i desenfocarem el fons.
Però que ho dic en el sentit que si fas una mínima realització ni que sigui mínima, doncs en algun moment, potser quan jo estigui preguntant, que es vegi una miqueta de realització per a tenir-lo, o no? O no ho veus?
Sí. Si vols, en un moment de conversa podem anar aquí.
A 2 y 2, vale.
Sí.
Vale. Entonces, el Adam, bueno, luego el tema de la mirada, claro. A ver dónde está mirando Adam, porque nos puedes cambiar, nos puedes flipear. Imagínate que tú eres Adam y tienes... Vale, això podríem fer.
Sí, però de tota manera, si ell s'està gravant, el bàsic és la mirada de la càmera bona, diguem-ne.
Exacte, sí. Una cosa, com ho farem per preguntar-li per poder veure com és la càmera i que tu et sembli bé per després fer el muntatge? Com ho podem veure, això?
Bueno, si ell té la capacitat d'ensenyar-nos-ho ara quan connectem, doncs...
Vale. Que ens faci un film estil i que te lo mande por... no? O què?
Sí, o que ens ho mostri ara. Jo quan ell connecti, jo desapareixeré.
Sí, esto se cae todo el rato. Esto es un lío. El micro este se cae. A ver qué tengo que hacer para que no se caiga. Voy a poner aquí algo.
Jo dic que quan desapareixi jo s'estaré sentint en tot moment,
Que quan tu desapareguis...
Sí, perquè jo quan ell se connecti jo desapareixeré, però en tot moment...
O sea que si hay cualquier cosa te decimos ¡Jordi!
Sí.
¿No? Vale, y estás ahí, ya apareces.
Sí.
Vale, guai.
Ara al principi deixem els noms de les persones aquí, però després ho traurem perquè estigui més net.
Vale, em sembla bé. A ver, he puesto aquí un pañuelo. Todo va de mantente mientras cobro, ¿eh? O sea que espero que no se caiga el micro. Y vamos a poner 4 polvillos ahí para los brillos. Sesión de maquillaje, aquí.
Jordi, t'apareix.
Aquí.
Ell se connectarà directament i tu ho veuràs, no?
Sí, jo abans d'obrir-lo us aviso. Està aquí esperant, hi ha algú esperant, vaja, jo no el conec. I llavors jo us diré adeu i entrarem amb ell.
Vale, estupendo.
Vale, pues le damos entrada. Queden 5 minuts. Sí, està bé, els hi donem entrada i aquests 5 minutets intentem veure el...
No, és que no hi és, no està.
No hi és, no s'ha connectat.
No està connectat.
Pensava que això... Ui, que cara más blanca. Bueno.
Això potser ho fa la llum, també, Carolina.
Sí, bueno, es que tengo esta llum, a ver, no se está calentando, no, todo bien. Iría mejor la luz, bueno...
Perquè és llum d'aquesta blanca, no? Freda.
No sé si és llum d'estudi. Però, bueno, ara les finestres, ara que de seguida que comenci a veure's una miqueta de llum, tinc aquí 2 finestres i aquí tinc un finestral gran. I que, bueno, també començarà una miqueta...
No, ara ja es veu més llum que al principi.
Pues voy a repasar un poquito las preguntas. Bueno. No sabia si com que després em tallaré el cabell, però bueno, és igual, no, és que no, perquè he provat de fer-me una cua, però no.
Bueno, com que vas tota negra, el cabell i és com que queda una mica difuminat el tema, no es veurà.
Una mica, bueno. Vale. Escolta, una cosa, la Laia la tenim aquí o no?
No.
Sí, ha marxat.
Ha marxat. Estava per una estona.
Sí, és que tenia una altra reunió.
Estava pensant en un gimmick que no podrem fer avui perquè no tenim l'objecte, però que podrem fer més endavant i que ho haurien de tenir llest pel dia de rodatge a Lleida. D'acord? Aprofito, que és l'Award, o sigui, l'ANIMAC Award, el físic, per aprofitant que estic allà amb la llum, tal, rodatge bé i tal, dir, escolta, mira, Adam Elliot, aquí tens a la Word Plus. Y faig així y aleshores él, cuando le llegue a Australia, cuando sea, en marzo, abril, mayo, junio, lo que sea, él coge la Word y dice, oh, thank you very much, no?
Perdoneu,
vale.
el tenim aquí ja?
Vale, d'acord.
Li donaré entrada. Recordeu que jo desapareixo, però estaré al xat, eh?
Molt bé,
Vale.
Jordi,
Vinga,
gràcies.
fins ara.
Vale, fins ara.
Hello,
Hello.
Hello, Adam.
can you see me?
Yeah, clearly. Hello.
A
Good
bit close,
afternoon.
all
Good
right.
evening.
I'm
How-
Norette. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Norette, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Turn the volume up. Actually, I'll just close the door.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
Are you ready?
All set?
yeah, well, I've got, just so you know, I've got above my head here is the HD
Sure.
camera. And I have got, I'm wondering, I have got a microphone
Yeah.
which I plug into the back of the iPhone, so then
Yes.
you get much better sound.
Yeah. Okay. We like that.
Yeah, I just want to check that the battery levels are good. Okay. So how, just roughly, I just my only concern is the battery. The battery's fully charged, and I just need. Would it be more like probably an hour and a half? Do you think, or more?
More or
Depends on
less.
you.
Yeah, depends on you. That depends on your answers. I have lots of questions, but depends, how the answer is. If it's like short and sweet, then we have plenty of time.
Okay.
If not, yeah, but I think 1 hour and a half should be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll plug in I'll take the power out and I'll stick in the. Okay. So it's not a very long microphone. Okay. So.
We have our technician with us, Jordi, which is, you can't see him, but he's there as a support. Are you with Daniel or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Daniel's on standby, so he thinks everything's going to work.
Okay.
So I've just got to keep reminding myself that this isn't the recording. This is the recording up here.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I've got to remember to keep looking at the camera and not here. So yeah, so I can see you out of the corner of my eye.
Okay.
It's all, the other problem we've got here is the sun is setting on the horizon, and behind me there's a big mirror. You can sort of see. I've got
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a mirror. It's not a window.
No, well, it's reflecting a window which is in front of me where the sun, unfortunately, is setting at the moment because it's daylight savings here and it's summer. So that's why I've had to pull all the blinds down. So, yeah, something I didn't we didn't think about was the actual sun coming in through the window. So, and of course, Australia is just like Spain in that it's very, very bright. But I think that the lighting's going to be fine. It might change slowly as we talk.
Right.
All right. Well, look, what I might do is just do a quick test on the video. So I'll just check that that's working.
Okay.
Test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's play that back. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah, that was me. I'm just on an extra recording, even though for you, Adam, sorry.
Carolina.
No. I just put it on the video just to have it. But anyway, Adam, what we'll do is we'll fake a live conversation. I mean, because now I'm not being recorded properly. I'm just here in my studio. I just cover everything in white just in case we have to use that shot. But the idea is that we'll have your image, your good image when we get it, put it into a monitor, and then I'll go to a set and pretend in in the actual Lleida, in the actual venue. Pretend that you are there in the monitor, and I'll be talking to you. So I will reenact my questions. That's the idea, okay?
Sure.
But just in case, of course, we are taping, we are recording all the session today. And so if you are ready.
At the backstage. Just in case you need me or Jordi, we'll be all at the backstage, okay?
Okay, thank you. Gracias.
Okay, and just so you know, I've got a storyboard. Actually, what I might do, because I'll just take this lapel mic off. I'll get the characters closer to me. Otherwise, if I stand up and walk, they'll all.
Okay.
So I'll just grab. I've got Harvey Crumpet. There he is.
Oh my goodness, he's so cool.
So I'll put him there.
Yeah, with his little Oscar. That's so cute.
And then I'll grab Max and the typewriter. So there's Max.
Oh, hi, Max.
And there's the typewriter.
Oh, the typewriter. So pretty.
So I got, those three. All right. So I'll just put the mic on again.
Okay. Great.
All right. So I'll press record.
So that's what we are going to do in terms to have your real expression. Instead of telling you we are taping you for 1 minute and then we'll say such and such about you, I just prefer to say so. What I will do in the formal presentation, okay, in the final recording.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the 25th anniversary edition of ANIMAC. Today I have the big pleasure to be with one of the main directors of stop motion animation in the world, and definitely an outstanding artist from Australia. In university, he decided to work with the old stop motion technique over CGI, and it paid off. Today, we can enjoy 3 films, the trilogy of shorts, Uncle, Brother, and Cousin, the feature, Mary and Max, and the Oscar-winning film, Harvey Crumpet. His film, with a distinct biographical bittersweet content, all written by himself, have won over 100 awards, including 5 Crystals in Annecy. He has a unique way to portray the outsiders, the underdogs, and he does this with lovable and unforgettable plasticine characters. It is a great honor to have Adam Elliot today in Melbourne, 70,000 kilometers away, 10 hours difference, summertime, wintertime here in Spain. God bless technology. And he's receiving ANIMAC 2021 Animation Master Award for his achievements as a filmmaker that has inspired other creators and audiences worldwide. Congratulations, Adam Elliot. How do you feel? How do you feel about getting this award? I mean, you have many, but how do you feel about getting this recognition from ANIMAC?
Well, look, I'm turning 50 years of age in about nine months, and I suppose I'm midlife, and in the last couple of years, I've had quite a few retrospectives all around the world, and I have a very sort of mixed reaction to having all these retrospectives, because I feel that I've still got a lot of films I want to make, and often retrospectives are for people who've died or careers have ended. So I'm very honored, and I'm very humbled as well, because I've only made one feature film, and made quite a few shorts, and there's so many other films I want to make. So I feel like I've only just begun. But look, it's a big honor, particularly as I live so far away from the rest of the world. I always say I live at the bottom of the earth, and I often feel very lonely and isolated as a stop motion animator. And so it is because of film festivals like ANIMAC and other festivals that specialize in animation that remind me that there is an animation community all around the world, and that my work is watched and appreciated by people other than Australians. So I'm very honored, and particularly honored to receive this award from ANIMAC, which is a festival I've had many of my films in over the years. And sadly, because of COVID, I'm unable to visit this year. But as you say, through the wonders of technology, I feel like I'm almost there in Europe.
Thank you very much, Adam. We'll show a complete retrospective of your work and the feature, including the feature Mary and Max, that also will be screened in the big screen at our beautiful La Llotja Auditorium in Lleida. And also the film Mary and Max has made it into the third feature, the best among the list of the best features of the last 25 years worldwide, and Mary and Max is there in the third place. So congratulations too. We are going to do this kind of chat by the fire, even though there's no fire, but somewhere we'll imagine that. And the first question would be, what is that you like most about filmmaking?
Well, I have to be honest and to say that as a child and a teenager, I really didn't have a burning ambition to be an animator. I mean, I'd always drawn, I was always making things, but animation was actually not a career I had a burning desire to pursue. So I actually didn't go to film school till I was about 25. And I then discovered that really animation, and in particular stop motion, is a culmination of all the things I love. I love using my hands. I love making things. I love telling stories. I love photography. I love music, editing. So it's a culmination of all these different elements. And I think what I realized pretty soon too was you get to play God when you're an animator, a stop motion animator. You can create any world you like. Your characters can look however you want them to look. And so I often use the word megalomaniac, and that a lot of animators are control freaks, and we love to have absolute control and absolute creative freedom. And that's something I've really relished over the years. And I'm very lucky that my films and my stories have been well supported by the government here in Australia, who give me a lot of freedom to tell the stories I want to tell without censorship, without any sort of compromise, or I never really have to tone things down, and that's been great. So I think filmmaking is also a very powerful tool to communicate your frustrations and ways to communicate messages about things that you feel unheard, or I often use the word injustice. My films really tackle subject matter that often is about people who are marginalized, misunderstood. And so I often use my films as a platform and a soapbox for me to communicate my thoughts and ideas on what's happening in the world.
Yeah, right on. I mean, one of the most probably striking things in your films are your characters, and the way you have normalized the existence of those that the society has left aside, kind of, the handicap, the different. And you've answered me already, why you use those. Why you use those characters, which are lovable as well. I mean, they are impossible to forget.
So the other thing I want to mention too is that it's not just the serious side that I'm trying to delve into and talk about, but I love comedy. I love humor. I love visual humor. I love gags, I love jokes. So I try and get a balance between the serious subject matter and also the comedy, which I call the light, the dark, the comedy, the tragedy, the humor, the pathos, and it's getting that balance between those two sort of competing elements.
Absolutely. It's the ambivalence that one of your heroes talked about, Jan Schwankmajer, on his Decalogue. And also he says, follow your obsession. You have nothing more valuable than that. And that's very true, you know, in any great artist's work as yours is. And another great stop motion animators like the Brothers Quay, they talk about errors. They talk about embracing the beauty of imperfection. And you have done it in a certain way by embracing your kind of psychological tremor, which, I mean, is a public domain. I'm not saying anything probably, or I hope, you know, too personal, but you have done a trademark of it, you know, the way that when you draw, your line is not absolutely perfect or straight. And not only in your drawings, but also you transfer that into your puppets.
Yes, well, look, I've as you said, I have a physiological tremor, which I inherited from my mother. So my whole body shakes a little bit more than the average person. So it's meant ever since I was a little boy drawing, my drawings always had a wobbliness to them. I could never draw a nice circle. It was always a bit wobbly, and I was embarrassed about my shakes, and I was embarrassed by my drawing aesthetic right through childhood. And it wasn't until I'd made my first film, and you know, I was even ashamed of that a bit too, because the characters, the plasticine was all lumpy, the characters were asymmetrical. And so the aesthetic was very, to me, it looked very crude and very basic. And I was a bit embarrassed, and I wasn't terribly good at sculpting hands, and I still am not very good at sculpting hands. So I had to do what I had to do. I made that short film at film school, and it was about one of my uncles who had a very problematic life. But then what I realized is when the film started to do well, that really the aesthetic, the sort of grotesque aesthetic that I developed sort of matched the imperfect nature of the characters and their stories. So I started to embrace this wobbliness, and ever since, all my films have deliberately strived for imperfection, and that matches the psyche of the characters. I find a lot of stop motion animation is too refined, it's too polished, and I love the fingerprints on the clay. It reminds the audience that what they're watching is something real and tangible and tactile. And as I said, the characters are all afflicted in some way. I never use the word disability. I often see them as very abled and having a lot of advantages to being slightly different to everybody else. And at the time too, when I made Uncle, no one else was really making films about their family. No one was really making animated films that were very personal and introspective and intimate. And so I quickly discovered it was good to be different, and it was good to pursue a style of filmmaking that no one else was doing, because as my career evolved, I realized that it was good to be different, and being unique was actually an advantage. So yeah, my films have always been about difference. They're about characters who are imperfect, who are seen as weird or odd or strange. They're about the other. They're about people who are misunderstood, marginalized, and they're sort of the anti-heroes. They're sort of characters that I hope everybody can relate to and identify with. And in many ways, my characters are extensions of my own psyche, my own personality, and it's very hard for me often to differentiate between what is fact and what is fiction. And as you said, all my characters are also based on real people. Harvey Crumpet is an amalgamation of many people I know. Mary and Max, they're both based on real people. Max is based on my real pen pal in New York. Mary is very much my own childhood. So these films, even though they are works of fiction, they're almost documentaries in a way as well. They're amalgamations of all sorts of parts of my life and my friends' lives and my family's life, and they're also very cathartic. They're a great way for me to understand myself and my friends, and they're a form of therapy as well. That's how I get out all my angst and anger, because I also feel very angry before I write any of my scripts. They're always based on a sense of injustice and frustration about the people I know. So that's a very long answer to your question, but it is, trying to summarize my career into 25 years of my career into a few minutes is difficult. But I think too, as I've gotten older, in the earlier years, I was very intuitive, and I wrote my scripts based on instinct. And it's only all these years later that you sort of self-reflect and psychoanalyze yourself and work out why am I making all these films, or what am I trying to say? And now that I'm almost 50, I think I'm starting to understand what is at the heart of all these films. What is the impetus? What is the rationale as to why I've devoted myself to this peculiar vocation.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much, Adam. And you were talking, about all these years making films. How it was to jump from a 5-minute short, as you said, all made by yourself, to a more elaborate 30-minute almost, that was Harvey Crumpet, and then a feature. How you managed to keep all the personal essence from your early shorts into such big works as Harvey Crumpet or Mary and Max?
Well, pretty early on in my career, I came across this ambitious idea, and I can't really remember why I came up with this idea, but I love the number 9, and I love trilogies. And I thought, what if I do a trilogy of trilogies? Because I love shorts, I love half-hour films, and I love features. So maybe I'll do 3 shorts, 3 half-hour films, and 3 feature films, and that'll make up 9 films, and that'll probably take me my whole life to do. I wasn't terribly serious about that ambition, but I was very lucky that each film I made was successful, and the government encouraged me to keep making more. So I pretty much haven't done anything else other than making my personal stop-motion films over the last 25 years. And I've never made a series. I've never done a TV commercial. I've never animated for anybody else. I'm an auteur, and that's all I do. And so I've been very lucky. As I said, the government have always supported me here in Australia. And there's that expression, you're only as good as your last film. And again, I've been very lucky and grateful that each film has been successful or had a degree of success that has allowed me to then make the next film. So currently I'm up to, I've made 3 shorts, I've made 2 long half hours, and I'm about to start my second feature film. So I've really only got another feature after that, and another half hour, and then the 9 films will be finished, and then I can die, and that'll be all finished. So, so yeah, it's you got to be careful what you wish for, and you be careful what you decide upon early on in your life, because you never know, it might all actually happen.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we'll talk about your next film later on. And but now talking about Mary and Max, the voice of Max in your feature, it's by Oscar winner actor, sadly gone, very charismatic, Philip Seymour Hoffman, which we know from Magnolia, Happiness, Capote, Boogie Nights, and along, etc. Mary and Max, it happens, it was the only film on his career. How it was for him to incarnate an stop-motion, autistic, middle-aged puppet?
Well, when I was doing the first draft of Mary Max, I always have voices in my head of who I have in mind to voice the characters, and I'd always admired Philip Seymour Hoffman's sort of more obscure work, films like Happiness, and even before he won the Oscar for Capote, I really admired his technique and the real authenticity to his acting. And also because he's a New Yorker, was a New Yorker, he just seemed to be the most obvious choice. And of course, easier said than done to try and secure a big name like him, particularly as I'm here in Australia and he was in America. And I knew he hadn't really done animation, and I knew that he was a very serious person and very literate, and I knew that if we were to approach him, that my screenplay really had to be very polished and at its most potent. So we didn't send him the script until I was confident that the script was finished and ready. And it took a long time for his agent to get the script to him. But when he read it, he responded pretty quickly and said yes. And we were very relieved because Max is based on my real pen pal in New York, and I really wanted the performance to be as believable and as authentic as possible. And so we had a little bit of rehearsal time, but really he just invented this very quickly, a very potent performance, and I really didn't have to direct him at all. He sort of just read the lines, and the first take was often the best. And there was a real sadness and melancholy to his delivery as well. And it was such a joy to work with him. And of course, he sadly passed away a few years later. And one of the things we were planning was for he, myself, and my real pen pal to have lunch together in New York. But because I hadn't met my real pen pal at that stage, I only met him after the film was finished. So it was a real honor to work with him, and I often say that really he drove the film. His performance really gave the film its credibility and its real distinct tone and sadness. I mean, he really brought such a beautiful sadness to Max that even though the animation and what the animators had done with Max was so beautiful, that when we put his voice and their beautiful animation together, it worked perfectly. So we're very lucky.
Well, great. Thank you. And we've mentioned before the Jan Schwankmajer, now Philip Seymour Hoffman. Any other filmmakers, animation, musicians that you consider your heroes and that they have influence in the way you make films?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Jan Schwankmajer, because I had seen many of his films even before I'd gone to film school, and I love any sort of film that deals with darkness and absurdity and surrealism, and I really was drawn towards Eastern European animation. And I was very lucky to go to the Czech Republic a few years and meet a lot of Czech animators. Sadly, I didn't meet Jan, but he signed a book for me, which I was thrilled to get. But other animators, I'm more inspired by novels. I read a lot. I love live action films. I love documentaries. I spend a lot of time in art galleries. I wouldn't say that I watched Warner Brothers cartoons and I watched Disney films, but Disney and American animation has never really been something that has motivated me or something I'm much more interested in works of art that are often obscure. But look, I try not to when I'm writing and creating my own films, I try and draw from myself and my own experiences and my own drawings and pictures and sculptures, and I worry about mimicking somebody else's work. So I strive for originality. I strive to be unique, and I think it's really important that all filmmakers and artists find their voice and their aesthetic and their signature, because we all want to see artworks that are refreshing and original and unique, and that's what I've always been drawn to, works that are different. So I think it's very important that I look inwards rather than look outwards to find inspiration.
Well, definitely it shows, and as I mentioned, when we were thinking about this award, we always go for these things, for this own voice. In ANIMAC, that's the kind of animation we like and we admire, as yours. So in Mary and Max, you designed yourself 200 characters. Of course, you had to put a big team. Otherwise, in your own words, you would have spent 235 years making the film. How does it feel to be the ringmaster of the circus? Following also an expression that I don't know if it's because your dad was a clown trapezist. How you call it in English?
He was my father was an acrobatic clown.
Acrobatic clown, yeah. But how does it feel to be the ring of the circus?
Well, look, making a feature film, I quickly realized that it was a very ambitious thing to do. I was very naive at the time, and I really had worked in isolation up until that point. I'd had a few friends help me. Of course, I'd had an editor on Harvey Crumpet and people working on the sound and other components, but all the puppet sets, all the animation I did myself. So on Mary and Max, I had to relinquish that and get other animators to do all the animation. I had to work with a very large art department, but I chose which parts of the process I really didn't want to give up. And I didn't want to give up the production design. I really wanted to do the storyboard by myself. I wanted to choose the music. I wanted to design every character. And, there was a lot of work. And often I was, I had to be the conductor of the orchestra, but often I just wanted to be the person way down the back playing the triangle or the flute. Or, I wore many different hats, and all feature filmmaker, all feature directors have to be multi-skilled, and you have to shift between different job titles and descriptions. But we also had a very small crew compared to other feature stop motion films. We only had about 100 people all up who worked on the film. We only had 6 animators, and our budget was very small. It was about $8 million US. So we had to use our money very wisely, and there was a lot of people who worked many hours, including myself, and it was very difficult to make that film. And by the end, I was mentally and physically drained and exhausted, and I learned many lessons from my many mistakes. And for the next film, we really are going to do things differently. Having said that, when you're working in a chaotic environment, often magical things happen and wonderful things come from adversity. And so I look back at the making of Mary Max with fondness, but also a little bit of horror about all the things that went wrong, mistakes I made, mistakes other people made. But we got there in the end, and I think you can almost see the blood, sweat, and tears that went into the making of the film. And there's no way I could have done it without all those talented artists. Many of them I'd never met. Many of them had come from other parts of Australia to work on the project. And I always use that expression. It's very hard to soar like an eagle when you're surrounded by turkeys. So make sure you employ people who are far more experienced and far more talented than you are. And I often felt like I was the least talented person on that production, because there were people much older than me who'd worked on films like Star Wars and Moulin Rouge, and people who'd worked with Peter Jackson in New Zealand. And so we had a very, very skilled crew. We got there in the end.
Yeah, and what is most amazing is that it shows totally your hand and your, as you said, you know, you did all the art direction and everything. Listening to your speaking of the difficulties, so would you agree with Nick Parr when he says that directing a feature is like trying to be creative with a gun on your head?
Yes, I love what Nick Park said all those years ago, that it is you've been creative with many guns at your head. I came up with my own analogy. I said making a feature stop motion film is like making love and being stabbed to death at the same time. It's a very bittersweet. It did feel like times I was being stabbed because it was, you often, you know, every day you're making hundreds of decisions and you're working with millions of dollars of taxpayers' money, and there was so much pressure and expectation. And of course, my previous film had won an Academy Award. So how do you follow up a film that's just won an Oscar? And so, you know, it was stressful. But I think too, I had a lot more energy back then, and I think naivety is really good. I think not thinking too deeply about what you're doing is often a good thing, and just trusting your instincts one day at a time. And things. It is. I mean, there's comparisons of climbing a mountain. I think, well, it is like climbing a mountain, but I prefer to see it as building a house with little tiny bricks, and every day you go in and lay another brick, and before you know it, you've built a house.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you. Sorry, Jordi, can my mic is grabbing the surround the sound, because now it started to rain really hard and there is a storm. Is that okay, the sound?
I can hear you okay, yep.
Yeah, okay. And you don't hear like the thunderstorm or anything? You don't hear thunderstorms or no? Okay, great.
No, it's very clear, yep. Sorry, I just swallowed some.
Okay, yeah.
Some water went down the wrong way. Okay, so yeah. And do you want my answers shorter? Are they?
No,
are they
are beautiful. Your answers are perfect. No, it's perfect. We are down to the 4 last questions, you know. And one is like certain topics that we can see in all your films, you know, like these Schmankmajer obsessions, you know. And one of them would be like alcoholism, suicide, sickness, death, you know, in many forms, is always present in your films. Is that a reminder that we shall enjoy life, like Harvey Crumpet when he writes on his butt, Carpe Diem?
Well, I think the first thing I should say is that when I'm writing my scripts, I don't see them as animated films. I see them as real people, and I don't even start drawing or sculpting what the characters are going to look like until I've finished the screenplay. So I approach the story as if it was a live action film, and that's because I want the characters to be very authentic and believable. And I often say that's really you're suspending your disbelief when you watch any film, but with animation you have to suspend your disbelief entirely, and you have to forget that these are just little blobs of plasticine that are being animated frame at a time. So I approach the scripts with a very serious and a sophisticated way. I try and deal with subject matter that interests me. I try not to shy away from certain subjects. You mentioned suicide. I thought, well, why can't an animated film touch on suicide or explore suicide? There shouldn't be any rules as to what you can and can't put in an animated film. And also too, I was trying to, way back then too, trying to make films that I wasn't seeing at animation festivals. I decided very early on I didn't want talking animals in any of my films. I wasn't interested in fantasy or science fiction. I just wanted to tell stories about my family. And that might sound very boring, but I believe that everybody has a story about their lives that's worth telling. We've all had ups and downs in our lives. We've all had moments of tragedy. We've all had moments of comedy. And really, these films are just biographies. And that's why I came up with the word clayographies, because they're clay biographies. They're not really plot driven. My films really don't have complicated plots. They're very linear. They're very chronological. They're very accessible. My films aren't for young children, but certainly teenagers enjoy them. Seniors enjoy them. They're for all ages, all demographics, and I try and create characters that are very universal as well, that are archetypal and are very identifiable by people from all from any country. I mean, I love it when I get emails from people in Iran and Argentina and Japan, and okay, they don't often understand every joke, and there's certain parts of my films they don't understand, but on the whole, they get the emotion and they get the underlying messages that I'm trying to convey. And look, I'm so relieved too that now we're starting to see more and more animated films, series, shorts that are dealing with more adult, more sophisticated subject matter. Because I also too believe that, you know, it's an artist's role to push the boundaries. Because if artists don't push the boundaries of their own art form, then the art form becomes very stale, it becomes very stagnant, and then it dies. And I think animation as an art form needs to continually evolve and continually progress and push the boundaries. And so I think it would be much easier and safer to just tell stories about a cat and a mouse, but they're not stories that interest me. And I used to feel quite lonely doing what I was doing, but now, you know, people like Wes Anderson's making stop motion films, and Guillermo del Toro is, of course, making Pinocchio, and so there's some very big name live action directors who understand now that animation and stop motion is a wonderful vehicle for telling a story that does deal with challenging subject matter and darkness, and so it's great. There's all these fantastic adult animated films coming out, so I don't feel as lonely as I used to.
Absolutely. Anomalisa is another title I love. Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh, it's a wonderful film.
Yeah. So, well, thank you. I read in a French magazine your characters being described as having a sublime fragility. You are the king of tenderness. I mean, you were talking about the reality, the humor, but I think there is an aspect of your films very strong, which is tenderness. Your empathy for those characters make them so unique. Do you think we need more tenderness and kindness in this world?
Well, of course, and at the moment throughout the world, we need to be more caring of each other for sure. And I think I should say too that one of my private pleasures is to write poetry. I've written hundreds of poems over the years. I haven't really shown them to many people. Many of them, I'm sure, are terrible, but there's something I love about poetry where you really have the freedom to use unusual words and put them and structure them in a way that is poetic, and that's in a way what I'm trying to do with my films is create some form of poetry and yes, tenderness and heartwarming moments. But also, I have to be very careful to not let my films become too saccharine and too sentimental, because particularly here in Australia, Australians have a low tolerance for sugary films, and I often, have this vomitometer, which is where if something's becoming too syrupy, like that's not that's too sugary. So I have to be very careful that I don't go too far and make films that are too heartwarming. And that's why I often kill characters in my films that are becoming very cute and adoring. And I learned very quickly that cute is good for a while, but cute can become too much. So I remember my first film, Uncle, there was a little cute Chihuahua dog, and I remember the animator saying, "Oh, he's so cute. What's he going to do in the film?" And I said, "Well, he's just there." And then I realized, no, he has to die. That Chihuahua has to die, so he gets run over by a kid on a skateboard. And the audiences loved that Chihuahua died. And so I kill the cuteness. I have a little bit of cuteness, but then I get rid of it. And that's probably why so many people die in my films, is because I don't like them getting too nice and too friendly and too, it's I think being Australian helps, is that we also have what we call our bullshit detectors, which is that when we sense something is a little bit fake, we get we don't tolerate, we don't suffer fools too much here in Australia.
Okay, well, definitely that thermometer or cutometer, it works, definitely. You talked before at the beginning about your new film. You've been writing for 4 years now, and now you will start pre-production. Is there anything, pre-production, you will start production, sorry. Is there anything you can tell us about this project, Adam?
Well, I think the question I get asked a lot is, Adam, why is it taking you so long to make another feature film? Because after Mary Max, I made a short. Everyone was expecting me to do another feature, but I didn't want to make another feature straight after Mary Max because I was exhausted and I didn't have any ideas for another feature. I really had to just wait until that idea came along, and it took many years before I got the idea for this new film. So I made Ernie Biscuit. Ernie Biscuit was a sort of an experimental film where I wanted to deal with try out new types of plasticine and new techniques and new digital cameras, and it was only probably a couple of years after Ernie Biscuit, 2015, 2016, that I did come up with an idea for another feature, and I got my enthusiasm back. It took many years for me to get enthusiastic again about another feature. So it's taken me 4.5 years to write the many screenplays. It's now locked off. I've just finished the storyboard. The animatic is in its preliminary stage. My producers and executive producers are putting together the rest of the finance. We're dealing with a French sales agent, Charades, who are going to be our French collaborators, and it'll be made here in Australia again with a lot of my former crew and my editor and some of the animators. And so we start. Of course, COVID has slowed things down. We would have preferred to be in production right now, but that's been delayed. So the film won't be ready till 2023. I can't tell you too much about it. I can show you the storyboard. I'll show you. It's in this. I put all my storyboards in these boxes. These are Japanese and Chinese boxes. So this is the storyboard here.
Oh, you working cards. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm not even cardboard. I draw on. I just draw on A4 paper, and I'm very superstitious, so I always use my favorite mechanical pencil. This is a very expensive Mont Blanc mechanical pencil. I don't draw on tablets. I just draw on paper. And that's really where the final draft of the script really gets done. I see the storyboard as the final draft, and also that's where a lot more visual humor comes in, and I get to choose camera angles and play around with close, mid, wide shots, and really all animators know, of course, that the storyboard is a very critical and important part of the process. I could quite easily hand the storyboarding process over to somebody else, but again, I'm a megalomaniac. I'm a control freak. I have to do everything myself. So I spent 5 months drawing 1,600 of those drawings. And I did that here in Melbourne during our lockdown. Our lockdown was during your summer, our winter. And Melbourne had one of the longest lockdowns in the world. I think we were locked down for 9 months all up. So it was a perfect time to just be locked away drawing. And I was very lucky that the timing was good for me to just sit here at this desk and draw quietly and very few interruptions. And I got the storyboard done in record time. So now we're just preparing. We've got to find a new studio. We've got to, start talking to crew and this film is more of the same. It is another very bittersweet biography, two protagonists. But this time around, it's a memoir. So instead of having a narrator, an anonymous narrator, this one is an internal voice. It's a very personal memoir about a woman based on my mother. Actually, I can tell you that it's based on my mother. And there'll be lots of comedic moments, hopefully, but it is more of the same. I often get asked, are my films formulaic? Well, I don't see them as formulaic. They are certainly very similar, but there's that expression: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I love doing what I do, and I'm very happy to keep writing and making these films. As long as audiences enjoy them and respond to them, then I'll keep making them until all 9 films are finished, and then I can die.
Well, we hope so. We're very, very much looking forward to know more about this new film. And my last question is really a statement from one of your films. From Uncle, that says, "Live, your early films where you already set up the basics to many of your style or way of understanding, filmmaking." And it says, "Life can only be understood backwards, but we have to live it forwards." Mm-hmm. So we will continue forward, coping with this pandemic the best we can, and wishing you and everyone else to be well and to be healthy and to be productive and creative.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm so glad you like that quote. Of course, I wished I'd written that quote. It's by Kierkegaard, I think, is the philosopher who wrote that. The one quote I am proud of that I wrote myself was also the one at the end of Harvey Crumpet, which is probably not a very good quote when you think about it, but it is that life is like a cigarette, smoke it to the butt, which seems like a bit of a contradiction and a bit of an irony, but that's something I'm proud of. And actually, speaking of cigarettes, I forgot to show you, I found today one of the puppets from Harvey Crumpet, and there's his cigarette, and there's his little magnetic mouth. And after we won the Academy Award for Harvey, somebody, I can't remember who, sent me a little Oscar miniature. It's actually a pencil sharpener. So we thought we'd glue it on there. And just quickly, I should show you too, I've got a little Max here. Unfortunately, his hand's fallen off. So that's one of the original Max puppets. I think we had 12 Maxes all up. He's starting to fall apart a bit. And also the prop that everyone loves, which we've kept, is the Max's uprighter, which is an actual. It actually used to work. It's also seized up a bit. But a lovely man called Roger Ferdinando made this for us. It took him 8 weeks. It's all made out of metal, and it's worth its weight in gold. I think it probably cost more than gold to make. But yeah. So there's some of the bits and pieces. And I should say too, people ask, where are all the props and sets from all your films? And I know people are going to get angry, but they've all gone. They've all been disposed of. A lot of them disintegrated, fell to pieces. And we had some exhibition, a touring exhibition of Mary and Max with some of the props and sets, but sadly that's all that's left. And I for me, the props and sets are really made for the film. I don't ever see them as museum exhibit items, and it is nice that people get to see them after the film's made. But, for me, they're always preserved forever on the film, in the film, and on celluloid. And so that's that's a nice thing. Even though they've deteriorated and fallen to pieces in real life, they will be forever young on and in the film.
Okay, thank you very much. Like actors themselves.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Adam. I don't know if you want to add anything to this conversation, or you want to do a special remark, but otherwise that would be it. So.
Sure. Well, what do I say? I'd like to just thank everybody, especially Carolina, for inviting me to be this year's recipient of this very prestigious award. It's a big honor for me, and I just would like to thank also everyone in Spain and Catalonia and Europe, and for supporting my films over the years, because as I said, I feel very lonely and isolated here in Australia, and it's so nice to know that there are people outside of Australia who appreciate my films. So thank you to everyone, and happy birthday, ANIMAC, and hopefully once the virus has been suppressed and we all have our vaccines, I can finally come to Europe and see you all in the flesh, face to face, person to person. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Adam. That was great. That was lovely. We will make the editing of this conversation, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. We don't know if we will use the image that we are taping now. Well, your image we will use, definitely. We'll check that everything is okay. And then we will mail you the award, which is on the making now, because every year the awards are being made. It's not that we have there plenty.
Oh, wow. So it's a real award. Oh, fantastic.
Yes. It's a real award that will be, Noret probably will mail you to Australia. And then probably we will ask you like a little video, because I will take myself like giving you the award. And then probably I will ask you with the iPhone or something, a video like receiving the award.
Yeah, great idea. Okay. Yeah.
We wanted to get it done for now, but it was impossible to make the award, to mail it all the way to Australia. So it's like, okay, relax, just let's get the award made properly and then mail it to Australia, and then maybe we can do that video once you get it. Yeah.
All right. And I will once this is finished, we will send this file via WeTransfer, I think. I'm looking at it now. It's about 52 minutes, which is good. And it's in high definition, and the sound I hope will be perfect. And also Dan sent through documentary and some pictures, some stills, I think. So Did all that arrive okay?
Yes, sorry. Yes, the documentary, the mockumentary about Mary and Max, I watched it. It's great. Do you really go around the studio? Do you really go around the studio
No.
with? Okay.
No.
That's what I figured.
Well, that's why we not many people have seen that documentary or
It's so funny.
because it doesn't paint a very good picture of me, and a lot of people think it's very serious and that I was like that, but we're not very happy with the documentary. It's not very good. I mean, it's good because you get to see what's good is that there is archival footage of the animators animating, but all the other stuff is silly nonsense stuff.
Right.
But feel free to use it however you like, and we're not precious about any of that. And if you need more images, and of course we have all the film.
I think Jordi will send an email to you or to Dan, asking for the files of the films. I think he did that before, so probably he'll send you an email today or tomorrow.
Do they DCP? Because we have DCP and digital files or whatever you like.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, we will let you know the best format that we need. And yeah, definitely there will be an editing of while you talk about certain topics, and then we will illustrate somehow, with your films or with part of this Mary and Max documentary. And we'll send it to you to see if you are happy with it. Yeah. And then it will be on YouTube for the direction of the festival, which is which is February 25th until March 7th. That will be on YouTube. And your films will be only logged for the Spanish territory, as I mentioned. They will be only in filming because it was hard to get an entire. We are not Annecy that they managed to get rights worldwide, and not even Annecy managed to get all the rights they wanted because it's kind of hard to get worldwide rights. So we are getting just the permission to screen the films in Spain in this great platform, which is Filmin, full of cinephiles. There are many festivals as well, live action. And so we hope also that animation will arrive to people that are not animators and people that they normally don't watch animation. So out of all this mess and this pandemic and this having to go online, there is one good thing, and this is that probably more people will know, for instance, about your work, other people's work, that if we would only do the screening on site in Lleida. And hopefully we will be able to screen Mary and Max in beautiful 1,000 seats theater in Lleida, in La Llotja, which is our main venue. We are planning to screen that film on Sunday, like for the closing, the last film shown for the closing ceremony. Well, we cannot call it ceremony this year because you have to avoid multitude, so it's all different. But we want, if they allowed us to do so, we want to screen the film in the biggest screen. So, it would be nice for that. I almost forgot. For that moment,
yes,
to do a little video just introducing Mary and Max, as you would do if you would be in Lleida in our.
Sure.
Okay, sorry, that's just last thing.
You want me to do that?
If you want, I can remind this to you if you want. I send you an email asking.
I could do it now if you like.
Yeah, I can do it now. Yeah.
I'll start a fresh video, so then I'll send 2 separate videos.
Okay.
So, or if I just for 30 seconds or?
30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds, 1 minute. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I'll just go now. Hello, my name is Adam Elliot, and I'm the writer and director of Mary Max, and I'm very thrilled to present the film to you virtually from here in Melbourne, Australia. I'm very honoured that you've chosen the film to be screened, and the film is now more than 10 years old, and I'm very humbled that people still enjoy the film all these years after it was made. And so I hope you enjoy it. And I look forward to giving you all another feature film in 2023 when we'll be all finished. I'm in the middle of pre-production at the moment, and we start shooting towards June. So don't hold your breath, but I look forward to giving you another film in a few years. Enjoy the film, and thank you for screening it. Thank you. That was a bit. That was a bit
no, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I can do another one if you want. Just let me know, and I'll do a fresh one. It's a bit. What time is it? It's about 8 o'clock here, so I'm starting to get a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. If you want to do another introduction,
I'll do another one. Yeah, after we've hung up, I'll do a fresh one. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, well, I think that's nothing else. I've shown all the puppets storyboard I showed. So, yeah, we managed to cram it all in, and I didn't talk for more than an hour. So, hopefully, yeah, that'll all work.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thanks, Carolina. And thank you, Norette, for assisting. And Dan sends his regards. He's in the other room.
Where is Dan? To say hi.
Yeah.
Is he around?
Dad? He might. Are you there? Dan?
Don't worry.
It's okay. Don't worry. We have Oscar there. We say hi to Oscar on the back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, the Oscars. I forgot the Oscars.
You have Oscar in the back, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there we go, holding it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You're great. You've been great, so generous, and we really, really thank you. You know, it's gonna be just a total treat to have you virtually, you know, hopefully in person in the future in Lleida. It's your home. Whenever you want to come, you'll be very, very welcome.
Oh, look, I think I mentioned last time we spoke, the last time I was in Spain, and I've never been to Barcelona. I've only been to Javia near, where is it? Sort of the south. It's a town with a lot of English people go to. Javia?
No.
Yeah.
Near, I don't know where is Javia.
What's it called? Alicante.
Alicante.
Vale.
So I never made it up to. So that was back in 1994. Was the last time I was in Spain, and I'd never been to Catalonia and I'd never been to Barcelona. So I'd love to come back. And I know that Anna Madrid. Is Anna Madrid still a festival going? Is it still?
No, unfortunately not. But we set up a new festival that was 4 years ago called Animario, which takes place in Madrid and kind of took the place of the other festival. You know, it's happening.
Okay.
It's happening now. It's a smaller festival that it was Animadrid, or smaller than Animac, but it's a nice, pretty festival that takes place in an art center called Matadero. Matadero is a slaughterhouse. It's the biggest slaughterhouse of Madrid. A beautiful, great building, like collection of buildings. You enter, it's like a city within a city, you know?
Okay.
So there is like studios for artists. There's many things going on, exhibitions. There's a library. There is like I don't know, technology lab. There's like many things for artists, and this is happening in October. September, October. Yeah.
And what about in Portugal? What animation festivals are in Portugal?
In Portugal, you have Monstra.
Monstra, yes.
Yeah. And that's the main one right now, Monstra, I think. I mean, nowadays there is many little festivals all over the places, you know. It's crazy.
Right.
But
I know is Sam who connected us. Where does Sam live? Where's his studio?
Estamos in Valencia. It's near Xàtiva.
And what about an animator who I always love seeing, and she came to Australia to visit Mary Max 2009, Regina Pessoa?
Oh, yes.
We love her. She's been 3 times in ANIMAC. She's a dear friend of the festival. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I love her work.
She's participating this year as well. She's doing a conference. Yeah.
Because this year we made this poll asking all these big curators like Marcel Jean from Annecy, Gian Alberto Bendazzi, Jane Peeling, all the big names of the curatorship and scholars and whatever for the world of animation, the ones that have thought more heavily about animation and came out that your film is at the top, of the best films, for instance. And also we asked them a list of their favorite filmmakers of short films. And then Regina, it was on this top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
With Theodor Ushev. I don't know if you know Theodor Ushev. Theodor Ushev from National.
Yeah.
He did the Physics of Sorrow lately and has won many awards. Won the Crystal in Nancy. And the other filmmaker is Koi Yamamura. Probably you know.
Oh,
Yamamura. Yeah, Mount Head. He did that.
Oh, Mount Head is beautiful.
Yeah,
film.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And the third one is Regina Pessoa, and the fourth one,
Igor Kovalyov.
Igor Kovalyov.
Yes,
Which I really, really like his work. I mean, I love the work of the four, and they are gonna give like a speech. We'll make a video with the four of them, And I was this summertime I went to visit Regina, that she lives in a house in the country in north of Portugal. And this summertime, I drove with my family to visit them because Abby, her husband, has a small museum of cinema in this country house.
Oh, wow.
This really old house. It's beautiful. It's like a mansion. And then they have a lot of land around. They have an apartment for artists. So if you ever want to go to Portugal, I'm sure they can put you up.
Oh, look, I'd love to. I've never been. And I only ever see Regina, of course she came to Australia on holiday, but I only have ever seen her at Annecy, Stuttgart, I think Hiroshima. So we see each other maybe every 5 years, and she always has a beautiful film. And she's one of those animators too who's just, people like her who've given me the courage to keep doing what I do, because a lot of animators will make 1 or 2 shorts and then they'll go to some other career or some other aspect of animation. But Regina has always just been a strong auteur and just made beautiful films one after the other, and has really such a strong and distinct aesthetic. I mean, her work is just, I remember she was showing me all the little hand engraved panels and cells for her work. Oh my God. So, people like her that really I admire, and it is those auteurs. And I feel bad that I said I tried very hard to say that I didn't. It's not like I don't like American films. It's just that I prefer European animation to American animation. And let's face it, there's not much independent animation in the short form that's ever come out of America. It's always, it's been the Czech Republic, Estonia. That's really where the art form is at its most purest and strong. And I get really annoyed when people say, "Oh, your film's for adults," and I said, "Well, for decades, and for the history of cinema, there's been animated films that are for adults in Europe. It's just in Australia that they don't get exposed to many adult animated shorts or series, although that's changing, and thanks to YouTube and the internet, and there's a lot of students now who do know who Jan Schwankmeyer is, and who know who Pret Pan and all these other older auteur filmmakers. So things are definitely changing, which is good. And as I said, I don't feel as lonely as I used to feel doing what I do. Anyway, I feel like I'm answering another question, so I should stop.
No, it's fine.
Jordi, do we have that on video? Do we have
what
this?
I just said.
Do we have this on video? Adam, did you tape that?
No, I didn't. Sorry, I pressed stop.
Okay.
I pressed stop before I said all that.
We'll take it from here.
No, it's okay. It was nice what you said about Regina, you know. It was really nice. Yeah. I will tell her. You know, I talk to her in a regular basis. We are friends. We're very good friends. Yeah. Now she's fine, but she had a major health problem. So, but now she's fine. Yeah, she had a cancer, but now she's clean, fine. Yeah.
Please send her my regards and is she working on a new film? I presume she's always working on.
Yes, about her mom.
Oh, about her mother as well. Oh, maybe that's what happens. I don't know how old Regina is, but I presume she's of a similar age to me. So maybe that's what happens when you turn 50. You start making films about your mother or your father. I'm sure my psychologist would be able to tell me why I'm making a film about my mother.
No, I think, but as you in the previous conversation, as you were saying, you definitely were the first one, or one of the first ones, to pay attention to this kind of documentary, to go to your family, and it's a trend now that I watch lots of films, you know, that they come from all over the world, and definitely the millennials now are very much into this. Year in ANIMAC, we have one section called one documentary section, you know, with films, and many of them talk about their personal experiences, the family, but normally are very heavy. They are like, you know, and what I like about yours is that there is a beautiful combination of serious matters, but also with humor, and they are tender. I mean, they have it all. So it's very hard to introduce in serious subjects, to introduce humor in such a natural way, you know, and you don't laugh at the characters. You just love them and laugh with them, you know.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I should have said too in one of my answers. I should have said that I'm very careful and mindful to not want the audience to laugh at the characters. Sometimes they're laughing at them, but I want them to be laughing with them and not mocking them. Is that we're enjoying. You know, we empathize, and empathy is a word I use a lot, and all filmmakers use the word empathy because that's what we're trying to do, is get the audience to put themselves in the character's shoes and to feel what it's like to be misunderstood or you know, I mean, the old thing of slipping on a banana peel, you know, it's funny because it's not you. Well, I'm much more interested in the audience feeling like it's them slipping on the banana peel. And, you know, comedy is also a really good tool for when scenes are getting too heavy and too dark and too depressing. You know, I always follow up a dark scene with a very light moment just to take the audience away and sort of get that balance going. And it is really tricky. And I've watched a lot of student films in recent years that are exploring personal experiences, and that's fantastic, and everything from gender to sexuality to, you know, relationships with their parents and partners, but some of them they're just too serious, they're too angst ridden, and there's too much sorrow, and you know, I often say you need to lighten it up a little bit with a
Yeah,
but it's tricky though. It's very difficult, and also too, the other thing too is a lot of I find that animators are getting younger and younger, and that's great that they're starting earlier on in their careers. But I also feel that they haven't had as much life experience. They haven't traveled the world yet, or they haven't had their heart broken, or they haven't. You know, they haven't suffered, and that expression that an artist has to suffer is sort of true, but you do have to sort of have had some life experience, and some negative things have happened to you, because I think that's where good stories come from, is from, you know, personal experience. And unless you've experienced some of that real stuff, it is hard to write something authentic. So, but anyway, it's good that and animation is alive and well, and it's it's flourishing all around the world. And there's so many short films being made, and so many features and series, and of course Netflix and all those big platforms are putting a lot of money into animation, and that's fantastic. There's a lot of content. A lot of it's average content, but there's some really fantastic stuff amongst all that's getting made. So it must be very difficult for festivals like yours to go through all the entries. Are your entries getting more and more every year?
Well, our entries, more or less, they are the same, around 1,000, because we are not a competitive festival. Mm-hmm. The only awards we give, it's like your award, and also audience award. But we like it that way. We didn't want to transform it into like an award-winning festival. We wanted to keep it as a mostra or as a show. Mm-hmm. And so this way, but also there is a big part of curatorship, of inviting films that we like and everything. So in a way also allowed us to give it a strong character and to mm-hmm. go for the kind of animation we like, which is the kind of animation you've been describing, European animation, the auteur animation, someone that has a personal thing to say and to express. So this is the kind of animation we love. And in a way also, when we asked for this list of the best films, of course, I didn't tell the curators what to choose, but I choose the curators that I totally respect, not people that are writing for magazines in terms of how much money makes a film, for Hollywood magazines or whatever. I just wanted people, mostly from Europe, but they were curators from all over the world, but mostly that they have this frame of mind, that they appreciate the auteur films and that they appreciate something that is created like an art, or like artists create, not thinking about the market, but thinking about other things. So I'm very pleased that without any instruction, just the curators really did wonderful selections, and what they pointed out was precisely this kind of auteur films, I mean, and it's Miyazaki there that also makes money. It's okay, but he. Oh no, look, that's but the thing. He thinks as animation as a means of expression, of a personal expression, So.
And unfortunately, we don't have many festivals like yours in Australia. We had the Melbourne Animation Festival, which sort of every year it's get less and less support from sponsors. So, but I love festivals that are non-competitive like yours, because I didn't become a filmmaker to enter competitions and be in a tournament. And I don't play sport. I hate sport. I don't like competitive. I've never been a competitive person. So I just love, festivals that do curate, that put together really interesting programs that have a theme or a message, and see that the animation is an art form, and even that short films are not a stepping stone necessarily to making a feature or a series, that they're not pilots for something bigger, that they are an art form in their own right. And I think you mentioned too last time we spoke, that films are films. It really, length is irrelevant. It's a good story well told, and it doesn't matter if it's a 4-minute film or a 4-hour film. It's really, it's about a good story well told. So that's the way I've always seen it. And I think it's festivals like yours, and also, I remember when I went to Estonia for the first time, the Black Nights Festival there, and I realized that, wow, animation has got it's so embedded in their culture. It's part of the culture. It's not this sort of, it's not a side art form. It's not something that's just on the fringes. It's actually part of the culture. And then, similarly, all the trips I've had to Annecy, seeing how loved and cherished animation is, and you realize that places like my country, where animation is really just seen as cartooning or for children, it gets, and that's why often I feel so isolated here, is because it's very hard to find people who are like-minded like myself. Luckily now, because of the internet, I can connect with other animators around Australia. Sean Tan, of course, who made the beautiful The Lost Thing. And so I have been able to find people, but it's only when I go to festivals overseas that I feel that I am part of a real community. And, Annecy especially is such a massive festival, of course, and everyone's there, and you'd see all your heroes. There's Nick Park over there, and there's Bill Plimpton, and all those big names are all there. And I come back very full of life. I feel very validated every time I come back from a festival overseas. I feel like, oh yes, I can do this, and I do get very recharged. Yeah.
Well, anytime,
anytime
you feel isolated or anytime you want to talk, here we are. We love to talk about animation. So we are your pals here in this part of the world. So
and I know we've met somewhere. We can't remember where, but I know you. As soon as I saw your face, I know that I'd met you somewhere. So I look forward to maybe hopefully 2022 when the world's back to normal, if that's ever going to happen. Hopefully at a festival somewhere at some point. That would be great. Finally meet. And of course, you too, Norette. Are you an animator?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just helping Carolina and Max. Yeah. But I love to be in this world too, to be part of it. Yeah. I'm learning a lot.
She's great.
Yes.
She's great. She's the guardian angel of our guest.
No.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you. It's the beginning of your day. I keep forgetting it's the end of mine, but it's the beginning of yours. So I'm sure you.
But it's fine. My team knows me. I could be, if I am like you, with great conversation, I could be here all day. So do not worry.
One final question: Are you in lockdown still at the moment?
Well, not totally lockdown, but we have, ¿cómo se dice toque de queda?
We have many restrictions, actually.
We have many restrictions, like we have to be at home before 10.
Yeah, 10.
We cannot move from our municipality. So I live in Barcelona, Norette lives in Lleida. We cannot really exit that unless we have a special paper saying that we have to move because of this. That. Also, now I started to work at university, and they don't want us to go there. They want us to work on remote, at the moment. And the students, university students, are getting practically everything by remote. The only thing that they allowed to go every day, and this is because otherwise there'll be a lot of children or many children out of school, is the little ones, because then the social economical difference can make a big step, because if you say, okay, do remotely, some kids will have big connection, computers, everything, and some others, they won't have anything, or just the mobile or a computer that they have to share with all the family, or no space to study or whatever. So they are trying to keep the schools going as much as they can. When schools will close, that means there will be like a total lockdown. But yeah, we are like, now is bad in Spain,
there's no social life at all. Restaurants are closing like at 4 in the afternoon, and it's not easy. But
we see it on our news. Every day we watch. We call it our world news, so we hear about America and of course Europe and we're in summer. It's summer here, of course, now, and we as I mentioned had a very long lockdown, very strict. We weren't allowed to leave our homes other than exercise and to go to get food. But because Australia is a big island of we're very lucky in that. I mean, we're not allowed to leave Australia at all, and very few people are allowed to come here. So there's very strict border controls, and so in a way, it's been lucky that we are at the other end of the world, away from the rest of the world, because that our isolation has really helped. And we've only had I think 900 deaths for the whole year. We've only had 900 deaths, so the numbers have been very, very low. and we get our vaccines in about a month's time. But Australia, we only have 25 million people, so we don't have that many people to vaccinate anyway. So compared to America or Japan, where they have hundreds of millions of people, our population's very small. So we're very lucky here.
I don't know if we can travel to Australia right now, Carolina. Should we go?
No, they wouldn't let us in.
Yeah, there are even
it's like a dream for me and my dad. We want to go to Australia and just die there,
But unfortunately, there's a lot of Australians who are still in Europe who can't. They're not allowed to come back to Australia.
I
think
know.
there's 20,000 Australians who have been, and a lot of the airlines have stopped flying. They're putting on the tennis, or there's the Australian Open tennis is about to start here. So there's a few tennis players have been allowed into the country, but of course we have a recession and the economy is terrible and all the rest. But at the very least, we're very grateful that the virus has been controlled. So it's still here, of course. There's a few cases every now and then, but the numbers are still very low. So
do you have social security free healthcare as well? Do you?
Yes, we have a similar system to Europe. So we have everyone will get free vaccination and free healthcare. But, my brother lives in America. He works. He's an engineer for Apple computers, and he tells me about how terrible it is there. And thankfully, Donald Trump is now gone. And
that was a nightmare.
Oh, just horrific. How that ever was allowed to happen is who knows. But so things are very bad there, of course, and hopefully Joe Biden can really get that vaccine out very quickly. But anyway, I don't want to depress you, and I'm sure you have.
We are fine. You have given us like a jewel today with your presence and your conversation.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your company. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well,
okay, Adam, you know where we are? We are your pals now. We are your not your pen pals, your internet pals or whatever.
Oh, sure. No, please keep in touch. And as I said, I love you. I love hearing from anybody who doesn't live in Australia. So particularly animation fans. So I'd love to keep in touch. And of course, I'd love to meet you both when we're allowed in the world.
Okay. Anything you need, here we are. And if you need whatever to do with information, festivals, whatever, just let me know.
I'll just say, I think I can hear Dan. Here a sec. Dan, can you come in? Just say hello to Carolina and Nora. This is Dan.
Hello, Dan. Nice to meet you.
Dan.
Nice to see you. How did it go? Was it good?
Fabulous.
It was great, yes.
Yeah, he's great.
We better show you one other person too.
There is one other member of the family.
Today, she or he?
Basil, it's a he.
He. Today, I'm very, very sad because, my dog that is 15 years now, it's terribly sick. He's not even in Barcelona. He's living in the country. We cannot go because of the restrictions. And today, I think is her last day.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
He has a very, very bad situation. And the vet has been around a few times. And he said, there's nothing we can do. And today she'll be gone.
I'm sorry to hear that. Basil will send him some.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
That's so funny. So cute. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again. I'll let you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Bye.
Bye.
Vale.
Ja ho tindríem.
Vale. ¿Jordi?
Hola. Estoy un poco oscuro.
Vale.
Sí, ¿no? El contrato.
Es una lástima porque cuando se ha soltado luego hablar de cosas tal no ho estava gravant, saps?
Ja.
És una llàstima. Però, bueno, ja tenim les preguntes i tal, i fins i tot si el so no és molt dolent i hi ha alguna cosa que diu que és molt interessant, igual la podem posar amb imatge i so a sobre de pel·lícules, saps?
Vale. Ho hem gravat per si de cas.
Sí,
Clar,
sí.
s'ha gravat.
Vale.
I la part de
Escolta,
la Regina potser la pots recuperar, Carolina. Com ha quedat
sí,
gravat,
això,
la part que parlava de la Regina.
Sí, clar, això és maco.
I a part que
Doncs
enguany
molt
també
bé.
forma part.
Bueno, doncs moltes gràcies, tu. Jo crec que tenim una bona entrevista, no? Ha sigut molt generós, ell, no?
Sí, Déu-n'hi-do,
Prou,
Déu-n'hi-do.
prou, sí, sí.
Sí, pero ya ves que estava a gusteras, el tío no se iba, era
Que
como...
fort. I el Dan és el seu ajudant i algo més, no?
Sí, jo crec que sí.
Però el cridava com si... Jo m'imaginava que apareixeria el fill o algo, perquè el cridava com si fos un nen petit, no?
No, jo crec que sí.
Sí, no, ara quan ho he vist ja...
Sí.
Sí,
No,
sí.
l'Adam parla molt obertament, diguéssim, de la seva condició sexual i tal, no sé què.
Com ha de ser, em sembla molt bé.
Sí. I jo m'ho vaig imaginar que el Dan era més que el seu ajudant, perquè eso de que conviven los dos el mismo mail, que se nota que conviven, tal, no sé què. Però, ai, que gracioso el perrete.
No, molt guai tot. Molt bé.
Bueno, pues muy bien. Jordi, si vols t'envio també que m'he gravat amb aquest programa, que és lo único que tengo el photobooth Infecto, ¿vale? ¿Lo necesitas o no? ¿Me lo guardo y si lo necesitas te lo paso?
T'has gravat aquesta sessió? No, quédatela per si de cas, no la borris per uns dies perquè com a referència el guionista, el Xavier Manolo, que ja hagi d'editar això a nivell de frases, com a referència ja tenim la gravació aquesta.
Vale. Com ho voleu fer, això, Jordi? Li passes tot al teu editor i ell fa una proposta?
Jo el que anava a fer, segons havíem parlat, era penjar tota la sessió, com a mínim la part de l'entrevista, amb un codi de temps i crec que la proposta... Esperem, la podem afegir a la Laia, que està per aquí. Crec que la Laia.
Ei, Laia, què tal?
Hola.
Has seguit l'entrevista o no?
Sí, no tota l'estona perquè teníem el Juan Carlos Concha a l'altra banda, però ha estat genial.
Ha estat molt bé, ¿no?
Muy guay aquest tío.
Con el Oscarcito allí como flotando, ¿no?
Sí, com estava? Què tenia? Un mirall a darrere o com anava? És que no acabava de...
El plano no és el que tu veus perquè se veia un fluorescente i tal. Jo imagino que el plano serà més maco.
Des d'on ell ho gravava jo també imagino que és diferent, sí.
No ho sé.
Vale, ni idea, però...
Pero sí, era un mirall y refleja el Oscar y la finestra y tal.
Pero bueno, el tío o sea, ha hecho muchas entrevistas y se nota, el tío tiene un dominio de escena, no sé qué, ahora saco los muñecos, tal.
Yo he flipado.
No hacía falta casi ni entrevistarle, tú le decías una cosa, entonces el tío ja te contava tot, no sé què, o sea, no, molt bé. Tenim bon material. Perdona, estàvem parlant amb Jordi ara què fem amb tot aquest material. Dius que ho penjaràs en un lloc amb el TC, sí? Amb el codi de temps?
Sí, amb el codi de temps, i jo el que contava és que, segons vam parlar ahir, que el Xavier Manuel, algun guionista, faria simplement un llistat de TCs, de